What's going on, everyone? In this video we're going to be going over kind of an oldie but goldie. I'm telling you what, I remember making these when I was a kid in school when I probably should have been paying attention. But I'm going to go over how to make one of these. Now, with two different colors, it's pretty easy to keep track of things. If you do this the same color, it's going to be just a little bit more difficult. But if you pay attention, it shouldn't be too bad. Imagine this 12, 3, 6, 9. If you're on the 5 o'clock side of 6 o'clock, you're going to do this tie counterclockwise. If you're on the 7 o'clock side, you're going to do it clockwise. And it's really that simple. So I'm going to start on the bottom under the assumption that I'm on the 5 o'clock side. Go up, going counterclockwise. Cross that one over, going counterclockwise, you cross this one over again, going counterclockwise, you cross it over again. However, there is one extra step, and that is that you need to go through this loop. Another important note is that you need to keep whichever string you have your key ring or metal ring, however you want to do it, that needs to go on the string on the bottom, as this one was demonstrated earlier. And now you just tighten these up once you have your tie in place. And what you're looking for is that nice square knot, double-sided. And there we go. Now it's very important that this ring remain on the bottom. Now if you go back to what I said earlier, 6 o'clock, 5, 7, this is now on the left hand side or the 7 o'clock side of your square. So you will start with this one going clockwise. And remember, your last tie needs to go underneath. And then just tighten it up. Once you get one or two of these, it'll be a lot easier to essentially just grab a hold of this thing and just do it, as opposed to taking the long head method that I'm showing you here. And when you're tightening this down, I found it to be a good idea to go the same direction that you did your tie and individually tighten each one. It seems to make it look a little bit better. Okay, so now this one is on the 5 o'clock side, starting from the bottom once again. This time we're going counterclockwise and in order. And you want this S shape to take form with every tie. I'll go ahead and leave that for just a second. You can screenshot that if you want. This is what it needs to look like every time. If you don't have that S pattern, it's just not going to come together very well. And again, I started this one counterclockwise, so I'm going to tighten it counterclockwise until I get that nice, good square. Okay, I'll go ahead and do one more tie. Then I'll finish it off. And when I get to the bottom, I'll show you how I close these up to make it look nice and pretty. Once again, that's what it needs to look like. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and finish this up. And when I get to the end of it, I'll show you how I close it. All right, once you start getting used to your knot, I have a tendency to like to do this without making all the squiggly lines. So I'm just going to show you real quick how I accomplish that. So you don't need to make a whole mess that you have to try and keep track of all day. Okay, so what I'm doing is, instead of laying everything out in an S pattern, both north, south, east, and west, I'm simply doing it just a little more neatly. And I make that loop because, as you remember, this last one needs to go through here. Okay, I'm going to call that good enough. But remember, you can make these as long as you want. If you want it to be 3 inches, fine. If you want it to be 10 feet, that's entirely up to you. As long as the cords you are using are the same length, you shouldn't have any problems. And even if they aren't at the same length, you can run this till you run out of cord on either side, or just on one side, and call that good. Either way, there are 2 ways that I like to close this up. One of them gives it just a little bit of flair. That is simply by tying a knot at the end of it. And you want to make sure that that knot moves down to where your weave ends. That way, oh, I need to make just a little adjustment here. That way your weave will stay nice and tight. You can do it like that, or you can do it the good old-fashioned way and burn the ends. I personally like doing it this way. It's because knots come untied. Might not look as pretty, but I aim a little bit more towards longevity than I do flair. More of a quality as opposed to quantity kind of guy, if you will. And then, of course, you can just tie off the end. How you end this is entirely up to you, your style, what you want to display to people, what you want people to see, what you want people to think. That's the beauty of living in a free society. Anyway, that's all I got for the key fob chain. And I mean, some of you might remember doing this when you were in school, or hopefully you were paying attention when you were in school and not doing this. But that's how you do it. Anyway, if you like this video, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. And once again, and as always, thank you for your time.